I scammed my own mom out of thousands of dollars. I thought I'd get away with it, but she found out, called the cops, and I ended up in prison. Now I live every day trying to earn her forgiveness. I was 22 when I made the worst decision of my life. Back then, I was still living with my mom. She had worked hard her entire life, raising me on her own after my dad walked out when I was 5. We weren't rich, but she always made sure I had everything I needed. College tuition, clothes, a roof over my head. It all came from her. But I wasn't the kind of son she deserved. I dropped out of college 6 months before, though I hadn't told her. Every morning, I'd pretend to go to class. In reality, I'd hang out at a local cafe, smoke weed, and scroll through crypto forums and online gambling sites. I kept thinking I was one click away from changing our lives forever. One afternoon, I overheard my mom talking on the phone to her sister. She mentioned how she had finally paid off the mortgage and had started putting money aside for retirement. That was the first time I thought, what if I had access to that money? It started small. I used her saved passwords. She used the same one for everything, to transfer $500 from her savings to my account. She didn't notice. A week later, I took $1,200, then $3,000. Each time I told myself I'd pay her back. Just one big crypto win and I'd return every cent. But the market kept tanking and my desperation grew. Within 3 months, I had taken over $22,000 from her retirement account. Then came the moment that changed everything. She got a call from her bank about unusual activity. And that's when things started to fall apart. I got home one evening and immediately sensed something was off. My mom was sitting at the kitchen table, arms folded, a printout of her bank statements in front of her. She didn't say anything at first, just stared at me. "Is there something you want to tell me?" she finally asked, her voice flat, trembling with restrained anger. My throat went dry. I couldn't even form a lie. She slid the papers toward me. All the transfers, all the withdrawals, all traced to my account. I tried to explain, told her it was an investment, that I had a plan, that I just wanted to help us both. But it was pathetic. She didn't cry. That was somehow worse. She just sat there, quiet, then stood up and walked to her room, shutting the door without a word. That night, I couldn't sleep. The silence in the house was deafening. I knew I destroyed something. Not just financially, but the trust, the bond we'd had. The next morning, I woke up to 2 police officers at the front door. I panicked. She had reported me. Turns out, she hadn't wanted to. But the bank flagged the theft, and because it involved fraud and retirement funds, they were legally required to escalate it. The paper trail pointed to me. My mom had to confirm the unauthorized activity. Her hand was forced. I was arrested for fraud and identity theft. The days that followed were a blur. Court hearings, lawyer meetings, and the weight of reality sinking in. I pled guilty, thinking they'd go easy since it was my first offense and it was family. But the amount I'd stolen wasn't something the court took lightly. They sentenced me to 3 years in prison. And that's when I realized I had scammed the one person in the world who actually gave a damn about me. Prison wasn't what I expected. No one ever tells you how slow time moves in there, how loud the silence is when the lights go out. I wasn't in a high-security facility or anything, but it didn't matter. Just the simple fact that I wasn't free broke me. The first few weeks, I kept to myself. I replayed everything over and over in my head. What if I'd just been honest? What if I'd asked her for help instead of stealing from her? Every thought ended the same way. I was here because of my own greed. I didn't hear from my mom at all for the first 2 months. No letters, no receipts. It was like I didn't exist anymore. And honestly, I couldn't blame her. I'd taken her trust, her future, and shredded it. One night, during a group therapy session, I broke down. We were talking about guilt, and I just cracked. I told them everything. How I forged my own mother's signature, how I lied straight to her face, and how she still offered me a place to stay while I was doing it. A few of the guys nodded like they'd been there. Others just stared. That's when I started writing. I wrote letters to my mom every week, even though I didn't know if she'd read them. I apologized, begged, explained, not to justify what I did, but to show that I understood how badly I'd hurt her. I didn't expect forgiveness. I just needed her to know I wasn't the same selfish bastard anymore. Eventually, I got a letter back. It was only a paragraph. She didn't say she forgave me. She didn't even say she missed me. She just wrote, "I hope you're using this time to figure out who you are, because the person you were isn't welcome back in my life." It hit me harder than the sentencing ever did. By the time I was released, I had served just under 2 years. Not a long sentence by most standards, but it was enough to change me. I came out thinner, quieter, with eyes that saw everything differently. The world had moved on without me, and I knew I couldn't just slip back into it like nothing happened. I didn't even try to go back to my old town. I knew better. I had nothing there. No friends, no job, and a mother who, as far as I knew, still wanted nothing to do with me. Instead, I checked into a halfway house, started working at a scrapyard during the day, and did community service at a local shelter on weekends. It wasn't glamorous, but it was grounding. For the first time, I started to understand what it meant to earn something. Every week, I still wrote my mom. She never responded, and I didn't expect her to. The letters weren't for her anymore. They were for me. It was my way of keeping myself accountable, of reminding myself why I could never go back to who I used to be. Then one night, after my shift at the scrapyard, I got a phone call, a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, it took me a second to recognize the voice. It was her. She didn't say hi. She didn't ask how I was doing. She just said, "I saw the letters. All of them. I kept them. I didn't read them at first, but I did eventually." I held my breath. "You broke something in me," she continued, "but you also broke something in yourself. And maybe that's the only reason I'm calling tonight." That was it. No promises. No forgiveness. But for the first time, there was a crack in the wall between us. I didn't sleep at all that night. After that call, we didn't speak again for a few weeks. I didn't want to push it. I knew I'd already done enough pushing, enough breaking. But then one Saturday morning, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. But I recognized her handwriting immediately. It wasn't long. Just 2 pages. She told me how hard it had been, not just losing the money, but losing the version of me she thought she knew. She talked about the anger, the betrayal, the shame when she had to tell family and friends what I had done. And then she said something I never expected. "If you're really trying to change, that's all I ever wanted. Not the money, not even an apology, just to know you weren't gone forever." She signed it with love. Not mom, not her full name, just love. It was a small word, but it meant everything. I cried harder than I did the day I was sentenced. We started exchanging letters regularly. Then, after a few months, she asked if I wanted to meet for lunch. I took the train to her city, nervous as hell, palms sweating the whole ride. When I saw her standing outside the cafe, my legs almost gave out. She looked older, tired, but also softer. We didn't hug right away. We just sat and talked. About prison, about what I'd been doing, about how lonely she'd been. We laughed a little, cried a little, and then, as we were leaving, she touched my shoulder and said, "You're still my son." That never changed. I've since paid back about a quarter of what I took. I'm still working, nothing special, just saving and trying to do right by people. I speak at community centers sometimes, telling kids how easy it is to slip into that mindset where you think what you want justifies anything. I'll carry the guilt forever. I deserve to, but I also carry something else now, hope, that maybe some broken things can be rebuilt piece by piece. And that's more than I ever thought I'd get. Hey guys, let me know your opinions in the comments, and of course, subscribe for more.